You want to set more boundaries with your parents, you want to be more honest with them. You're kind of pissed off that your relationship has gone all over the place, there's no honest communication between both parties, and it's become more and more difficult to navigate your household, and you love them in a lot of ways, but you hate that you can't express yourself to them. You hate that there's a lot of disconnection, and you're afraid that this extends to the rest of your life. And so it is absolutely worth it for you to be more honest with your parents. It is absolutely worth it for you to seek out these disagreements and risk offending them or even risking an emotional explosion, because you need to be honest and you need to express yourself in order for a better relationship. But you're afraid of that. And you want to find ways to kind of covertly express it, or you want to avoid them even more so you can avoid this whole situation to begin with. You're afraid that by expressing yourself, you're being ungrateful, that you could risk something scary. And I'm telling you that if you want a better relationship with your parents, you're going to have to take that risk. You're going to have to think of the worst thing they can do to you, and you're going to have to risk that. You have to be okay with it. Even if it means they kick you out of the house, strip you of your phone and everything you have, you gotta take that risk. You gotta believe that you have to stand for what you believe in, even if it means standing alone. And you gotta be ready to throw it all away, because otherwise, you're not gonna have the most perfect relationship with your parents forever. Growing up, my parents were incredibly emotionally volatile. Like, I'll be dragged across the house with one arm, my phone would be smashed against the wall and it would be broken, and my dad could get quite physical. And it took me a long time to improve this situation. It took me many stories and many different events and many different choices and discomfort that I had to face, and probably tens to hundreds of conversations where I had to sit down next to my dad with my heart beating out of my chest, and I was incredibly anxious, but I still had to open my mouth and go, "Papa, I really didn't like what you did there, and it made me feel really scared, and I'm always scared of you." And I have to express these things to him. I had to face this discomfort many times, and I would almost cry when I expressed these kinds of things, but I did it. I remember growing up, sometimes I would even write letters to my parents, especially my father, that I didn't like the way he reacted to this, or with a lot of anxiousness expressed that he is wrong for exploding emotionally at something. But it's because I was willing to have these conversations that my family is way more bonded than most other families. And I'm proud of that, because I know that I played a big role in it. The truth is, when you try to disagree with your parents, when you try to set boundaries, when you try to be more honest and more expressive, and you try to go against that anxiousness you have, it's not going to be easy, and you will shake, and it's going to be terrifying. But this is your fight. This is your story. And it's going to be hard, but you know what's harder? Having to live forever with these shallow bonds with your parents that could have been so much better, but you never put in the effort. That is so much harder and so much sadder. Even nowadays, I wake up every day, and my mom is also awake, and she's often very cheerful, but I feel this anxiousness in me. I feel this fear of expressing myself, and I'm almost avoidant of her every morning, because I don't want her to emotionally explode if I say something wrong or express something a certain way, or kind of remind her of some sort of difficulty, and then she starts to put that on me and starts to explode, and then it destroys my productivity for the next few hours, because she will make it a whole thing and I have to sit there and listen to her. So I'm still incredibly afraid of my parents' emotional volatility, but it's something that we have to be compassionate about, and we have to take that risk, and we have to sit and try to recondition how we think. And what I'm doing nowadays is, even though my relationship is 100 times better with my parents than most people, because I've put in the effort to change that, I still struggle with many things. And so right now, what I'm trying to relearn is try to reset my expectation of my parents. Try to let go of this unfair judgment that has been held for the past few years. I'm almost afraid of who they were, but they could have changed by now, but I'm still afraid of how they can express themselves. And because of that, I feel like it's almost unfair to them, because I'm typically a very cheerful and mentally healthy guy around other people. But when it comes to my parents, I'm always extra cautious, I'm always extra anxious, and I'm always extra avoidant, because I don't want to risk anything, and I feel so powerless to the point where I feel like I have to hide and be less expressive in order not to risk an emotional explosion. But if you want a stronger relationship, you have to reset the expectation and be fine with the consequences that could happen, even if it means that you're sacrificing a day of productivity. Because for us, we want to be productive, and we are afraid of things getting in the way, and we hate disorder, and we hate chaos. And that fundamental fear of chaos, the fear that things could be out of order and things could go not smoothly, is exactly what is holding us back from making stronger relationships, because we're too afraid to take that risk and we're too afraid to sit in that potential danger, even though it doesn't mean that much. So when we want to build a better relationship, especially with our parents, it is important for us to have the mental capacity to be able to sit in that discomfort and that chaos and still get the things we need to do done, while also making sure we have enough capacity to be there for the people that we want to be closer to, even when it means they explode emotionally. And it is worth it. It is a daily battle, it's a daily difficulty to deal with these kinds of disagreements and these kinds of small conflicts. Every single day it's a pain in the ass, but we cannot hide from it, because the more we think that it is a bad thing and something we have to avoid, the worse it's going to get, and the more it would accumulate into an eventual humongous conflict. So we have to be willing to have those tiny conflicts. We have to be willing to take the risks on a daily basis, even if it fucks us up humongously, and it won't. If you are taking the risk and having conflicts daily, then that means that you are having more honest communication. And when you're having more honest communication, it means that relationships will flow more smoothly and both of you will understand each other more, and both of you aren't afraid to express your needs and wants and desires because you're having that conflict daily. And of course, it's not going to be easy. As much as you express yourself honestly, they could never understand. They could always try to get in your way. They could always make you feel anxious, and always hold on to terrible habits that make you scared and feel vulnerable and feel unloved. But it is your job to keep communicating that on a daily basis. It is your job to keep showing up even when it feels ridiculously uncomfortable. This is your responsibility. At our younger age, at our stage when we have less responsibilities, that is exactly what kind of responsibility we can take, because we have more mental capacity to invest in these kinds of relationships with our parents, because our parents typically have many other worries and many other commitments. So what we can do for them is to take responsibility of our relationship with them. So we have to choose to set boundaries even if it's scary. We have to choose to have honest communication even when it's scary, even if it could risk certain things. That is the kind of commitment we can have. That is the duty we can serve. That is the value we can provide to our parents, especially when we're not earning money yet, or we're not able to do these grand things yet. Being honest, being able to disagree, being able to set boundaries, all takes a lot of mental capacity, and it's not an easy battle whatsoever. But we have to make it a daily one, and we have to keep showing up. The second we let it accumulate, it is going to fuck us over so terribly, and we're just going to become more and more avoidant. We're going to let our fears and our anxiousness box us in further and further if we never test the boundaries, if we are not constantly pushing on the walls every single day. It doesn't just stay there, it doesn't just stagnate and maintain itself, it will keep closing you in. So you have to always battle these walls, and you have to be able to fight every single day. But that takes a lot of mental capacity, and you improve your mental capacity through improving your mental health. One of the biggest things you can do, the most significant contributors, is your diet. Because your gut health produces 70% of your serotonin, which is kind of like your mood regulator. What you can do is make sure that you are eating clean food, unprocessed food, foods that support your gut health, like probiotics, prebiotics, and generally what you want to do is avoid all the bad food. It is more important that you avoid bad food than you add good ones. So typically what you want to do is avoid seed oils, avoid processed sugar, and avoid any kind of ingredient that you don't understand or any packet list basically. What you want to do is daily meditation and journaling, which sounds annoying to do, but once you commit yourself to this, your life will change so drastically. You will feel so much more better in your own skin, so much more comfortable and willingness to fight. You will find that it benefits your life in so many ways, and it will get you ahead of so many other people. Because who else is doing this shit? Who else wants to take on that responsibility? Everyone else just takes what they're given. Everyone else just complains and sits there and just accepts what is given to them and complains about it to other people rather than trying to do anything about it. But you are different. You are going to work against this. You are willing to build a better connection and relationship with your parents, and that's why you need to build your mental capacity and your mental health and your willingness to to have conflicts, to have disagreements every single day in order to fight towards that better connection. Because you can't stand that you have to sit here and just take things like a good boy for the rest of your life. You can't stand having that shallow relationship with your parents for the rest of your life. You don't want that. You are sick of it already. And you want to take things deliberately, and you want to genuinely improve your life and your relationships and the person you are, and be able to provide more value. So you are going to have to take this deliberately, because you are different. You are going to meditate and journal even though other people don't do it and they're still fine. You are not okay with being fine. You want to do well, and you want to do great things, and you want to have the mental capacity to tolerate disorder, to tolerate daily chaos. Because without mental capacity, you can never be a good leader. You can never manage multiple things. You can never have wonderful relationships while working on your responsibilities. And you become just another one of these average people who commit to a base level amount of things, complain about things when it gets in the way of their comfort, and just let everything be and be pissed off about it without trying to change anything. You are not like that. And me and you, we can't stand that kind of life where we just take things like a good boy. We have to fight back. We have to be willing to have our daily disagreements. And we have to be willing to take responsibility, to take life deliberately, even if it means more chaos. Because we want more than a life of just accepting things around us. We want story, we want responsibility, we want the capacity to be great. And that's why we can't afford to just sit there quietly and complain. So don't expect things to be easy. Don't expect your life to be smooth sailing and every day to be comfortable. Have those disagreements with your parents, because it means that you're having more honest communication. Express yourself, talk about your needs and your wants, go after what you genuinely want with no shame at all. Because if you don't, not only do you provide less value to other people, but you'll become resentful inevitably. And when you become resentful, you become even more of an annoying person than someone who just fundamentally goes after what they need and want. You become even more useless, even more of a drag on the collective, even more of a burden, and you don't want that. A responsible and capable person is someone who is willing to face chaos every single day if it means bringing themselves to a better place and the people around them as well. So don't be afraid of this difficulty. This is your fight. Have your daily conflict and carry on your responsibilities and be productive despite the battles you have to fight. You got this. I love you. It's a better world.